Hey,
Hi,
how's it going?
it is going good. I've done nothing today.
Yeah, awesome. I meant to ask you, and I don't know if we didn't even talk about this before the episode. How's your garden?
Oh, well, some of the flowers that I planted a couple of months ago turned out to be viney, so they've kind of taken over. So the tomato plant is holding its own.
It's
So
going to,
I
yeah.
it's got tons of cherry tomatoes. I have a salad every day, so I've been picking lots of
Nice.
tomatoes for the salad.
Awesome.
There's something that looks like kale where the kale was growing, but doesn't taste like kale. So it's just kind of left doing its thing.
Maybe the gopher will like it, or the groundhog, or whatever he is.
Groundhog doesn't like kale.
Oh, dang. Neither do I. I didn't mean to ambush you with that. I was just thinking because I was on Blue Sky today and someone was posting like, okay, get your garden ready for winter. Here's things you can plant. And I was like, Rachel has a garden. I should send her this. And I didn't, but I will.
Yeah, I'm giving the flowers another week or two, and then I'm gonna pull everything up because
Harvest them.
they're vines and taking
Yeah.
over, and then I'll plant winter stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's dig in. Let me find my notes. I'm sorry. I'm really not organized today. Um, Welcome to Goodnight, Mr. Holmes, a podcast about the Granada Sherlock Holmes, which ran on ITV in the UK between 1984 and 1994, and ran on Masterpiece Mystery in the US around the same time. I'm Laura,
I'm Rachel.
and today we are looking at part 1 of episode 25 in the series called The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Story was first published in the Strand in 1901.
So this is one of the most famous, if not the most famous, Sherlock Holmes story. And after it was serialized in the Strand, it was released as a novel. So it's longer. And that's why, I mean, the episode is 90 minutes. So that's why we kind of chopped it up.
Yeah.
So in this episode, we're back at Dartmoor in the evening fog. A large house looms over the landscape, and we're following as a dog walks the moor. A healthily bewhiskered man smokes a cigar near a summer house in the back garden. This is Sir Charles Baskerville. He lights a match to look at his pocket watch in the gloom. It's a little after 9. Then there's a loud snarl and some growling, and then a roar.
According to subtitles, that's
Yeah.
what's going on. In reality,
sound
it's
like
like a human doing a bad imitation of a dog.
I imagine so. Back before Garrison Keillor went, became canceled, let's say, he had a special effects guy who made these rudimentary special effects throughout the broadcast. And that's what I was thinking of with this. So Sir Charles, unlike us, looks terrified. And he runs through an iron gate further
Or he's
away.
just puzzled, like, I don't see anybody nearby. Who's making that sound?
But he's running,
Yeah.
he's tearing out of the shot. So at 221B, the street is busy and bustling. And I was kind of like, oh, they finally learned how to put horse manure on the street. The irregulars are hanging out by the front door. They're barefoot. That's bad. Hookworm. Inside, Watson is finishing up some writing while Holmes sits at the breakfast table with his back towards Watson. That's important. And Watson picks up a walking stick with a silver top. What do you make of it, Watson? Holmes asks without turning around. I believe you've got eyes in the back of your head, Holmes, Watson says. I have a well-polished coffee pot in front of me, Holmes says. Meaning he's been watching Watson in the reflection.
Yeah, and we see him pull up the lid and just kind of angle it so that he can see what Watson's doing.
Yes. Mrs. Hudson said the stick was left last night while you were out. Again, the stick, not the coffee pot. What do you make of it? And Watson stands up and comes over to the table. He's examining the stick. Well, his name, at least we know. Presumably it's on the stick, but we can't see it. I think Dr. Mortimer is a successful elderly medical man, well esteemed, since those who know him gave him this mark of their appreciation. I think he's a country practitioner, does a great deal of visiting on foot. And Watson reads out, Friends of CCH. I should guess that to be the local hunt. meaning, and this is all over the English countryside, an organization that puts together hunts that you have to, it's like a subscriber thing you have to belong to. Back then it would have been fox hunts. Now it's not, because that's illegal.
Good.
Yes. Bravo! And Holmes is literally applauding Watson. You know, I am bound to say you habitually underrate your abilities. And then he goes on. One of the most backhanded compliments in
I
all
have that note.
literature. It may be that you are not yourself luminous, but you are a conductor of light. Some people, without possessing genius, have a remarkable power for stimulating it. I confess, my dear fellow, I am very much in your debt.
And Holmes seems puzzled that Watson takes it as a real compliment.
I know. and Watson thanks him with a smile. But I am afraid most of your conclusions were erroneous. H, surely hospital. CC suggests Charing Cross. I mean, if so, I would postulate a young man under 30, amiable, absent-minded, unambitious, possessor of a dog. May I see the stick?
So basically, the hospital was like, "Oh, you're leaving? Yay! Have this. She'll come back."
Right. Yes. Watson, to his credit, tosses over to Holmes in the stick instead of beating him with it. Was my note. Holmes examines it with his little magnifying glass. Larger than a terrier, smaller than a mastiff, which is most
terriers come in a wide variety of sizes.
They do, yes, but anything larger than any kind of terrier and smaller than a mastiff is most dogs.
Yes.
And my note was like, perhaps Holmes is not luminous as he thinks he is. At that point, a cab pulls up outside 221B. A man and his dog get out. Holmes gives a self-satisfied and says, I was right, a curly-haired spaniel. No, you did not guess a curly-haired spaniel. Watson obligingly makes a face of awe and being impressed. Dr. Mortimer comes upstairs. He is played by Alistair Duncan, who is sometimes credited as Neil Duncan. He's interesting. He's a jobbing actor whose primary work seems to be in voiceovers.
Yeah.
For animation and video games. Like he's got this huge list of credits.
Yeah, it's is it Stapleton?
No, Stapleton's
There's another actor who in this who also has done a lot of voice work in video games. I have don't remember who it is offhand.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. I mean, I love
Henry. I think it's Sir Henry.
Oh, okay. I love that this is an avenue for actors now.
Yeah.
Like more opportunities, please, for the arts.
Yes.
So Holmes hands Mortimer the stick. I wasn't sure whether I left it here at the shipping office. The SS Gibraltar, you see, docks today at, and the spaniel has leapt into Holmes's lap, and Holmes is stroking him. At Tewbury, you interest me very much, Mr. Holmes. I had hardly suspected. So, okay. Dolichocephalic, a skull? I'm not an actor. Or such well-marked supraorbital development. Would you have any objection to my running my finger along your parietal fissure? And Holmes throws a hand up. Please, Dr. Mortimer.
This is such creepy dialogue.
A cast of your skull then, sir, until the original becomes available.
This is so creepy.
Holmes starts laughing because he's got a dark sense of humor, and Watson's joining in. It is not my intention to be fulsome, but I confess that I covet your skull, Mortimer says. Behave and sit down, Dr. Mortimer, Holmes says. So Mortimer and Spot, the dog, sit on the wicker couch.
Yeah, I have the note, actually. Did they give Stapleton dialogue to Mortimer? The answer is no, that Mortimer does actually say this in the story, but it really sounds like Stapleton should.
Well, Stapleton's also creepy.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways. I presume that it was not your phrenological passion which drew you to Baker Street, Holmes asks. Phrenology, which is a pseudoscience linking portions of the skull to various bodily functions, was experiencing a resurgence in London around this time. It's been used as the basis for racism, bigotry around differences in human intellect, gender stereotyping, among other things. People would go to phrenologists to get their fortunes told like a horoscope. Henry Ward Beecher was a noted aficionado, which is weird because he was an abolitionist.
Mm-hmm.
Later, much later, in the 30s, it was used as a psychological tactic by the Belgians in Rwanda, sowing the seeds of dissent between the Hutu and Tutsi tribes. Probably not sowing them, but widening them.
Yeah.
Which was exploited again in the 1994 genocide.
Yeah.
So it's not a good thing. And personally, I wouldn't be surprised if RFK Jr. resurrected it now that he successfully destroyed the CDC.
Yeah.
So basically, be on the lookout for anyone who tells you the shape and size of your skull means something.
Yes.
Mortimer puts on his glasses and takes a paper out of his pocket. I have here the statement of a certain legend which runs in the Baskerville family. Baskerville, Holmes asks. I'm an executor of Sir Charles Baskerville's will and found it amongst his papers. It concerns Hugo de Baskerville. He was the lord of the manor Grimpen on Dartmoor. Dartmoor, Holmes asks, getting up from his chair, because he's been in Dartmoor before. Some 200 years ago, Mortimer says. The document is somewhat later. Holmes takes the paper and starts reading it out. I'm sort of getting hints of Musgrave ritual from this. Yeah, notes of Musgrave ritual with the faint aftertaste of they were in Dartmoor the last. I can't remember what the story was. Learn then from this story to be circumspect in the future, that those foul passions whereby our family has suffered may not be loosed again to our comparable ruin. 8th of November, 1782. Intriguing preamble, Holmes says. I've read of Sir Charles Baskerville's death, Watson says, because we know he's a dedicated newspaper reader.
Mm-hmm.
From a medical point of view, it was a poorly informed article.
Yeah, plus sachant and all that.
Right. And he offers, in the spirit of being a medical man, Mortimer a cigarette, which Mortimer refuses. He died of dyspnea and cardiac exhaustion, Mortimer says. Were the conditions linked or were they parallel? Watson?
Yeah, so shortness of breath.
Yes. They were linked, in my opinion. So now Mortimer and Watson are talking shop. There was some facial distortion caused by the cardiac pain, presumably, Watson asks. Yes, Mortimer says quietly. You sound doubtful. It was not merely facial distortion, Mortimer says. And Holmes keeps reading. In the year 1692, Hugo de Baskerville abducted a young girl, but she escaped across the moor at night, cursing. He unkennelled his pack of hounds and hunted her down like a wild animal. When his drunken companions followed, they found the girl in a deep dip or goyal, dead
for a ravine. You have no idea how many times I had to type that to get autocorrect to accept it.
Oh, God, I believe it. Dead from fear and fatigue. And they also confronted the cause of her death, a huge demonic hound. Even as they looked, the hound tore the throat out of Hugo de Baskerville. One companion died that very night of what he saw, and the other twain were broken men for the rest of their days. This hound, Mortimer says, is supposed to have haunted the family since then, to the general misfortune of the line. Well, this may appear to your lurid taste in fiction, Watson. And Holmes hands up the folded paper to Watson.
There's the Peter Cushing version of Hound of the Baskervilles that has that backstory and flashback. And when it's done, you're like, well, that was pretty cool, but like, why is Holmes going to care about this? Then Mortimer asks Holmes, what do you think of it? And then cut to Holmes with his hand over his face, like, why am I being subjected?
I love it. Oh my God. It is a fairy tale, sir, Holmes says to Mortimer. Of course, Mr. Holmes, Mortimer snaps, but fairy tales will not survive without a kernel of truth. On the night Sir Charles died, I arrived at Baskerville Hall at first light, and then we're flashing back in Mortimer's memory. He's pulling up past a lot of cast iron lit torches. He's pulling up to the manor. I shall tell you what I found, no more, no less. I've been concerned about him for some time. He had become obsessed with the legend of the Hound. And we see Mortimer being ushered by one of Baskerville's men named Barrymore to the summer house. He believed he had heard the hound itself upon the moors. He even believed he had seen it. At the time, I took such morbid fancies to be part and parcel of Sir Charles's pathological condition, which we don't know anything about. Supposedly phrenology plays roll. And now,
Sadly, I guess he had a heart condition.
yeah, but why would you hallucinate if you had a heart condition?
I don't know.
I
I thought maybe that poison that I kept feeding him.
right. The digitalis, it must have done it. Yes. And now, Holmes asks, I no longer believe that to be the case. So the garden behind Baskerville Hall is really something else. There's a little hedge maze. There's incredible stone masonry covered with moss, and I could only imagine that when it's in bloom, it's magnificent.
Yeah.
It turns out the hall is comprised of 2 different shooting locations.
Oh.
Yeah. Heath Hall, which is one of those rare country houses that is still privately owned, and Mobberley Old Hall, and these are both in the north of England, which was bought in 2004 by a family who were later convicted of running a fraudulent parking scheme out of the Manchester airport. People would, park with them, and then they'd go on their trip, and they come back to find their cars muddy or with hundreds more miles on the odometer than when they'd left them. So, yeah, no wonder they could afford a big hall like that. And it was since sold to someone else that we don't know who that person is. Mortimer walks up to the housekeeper in the yard. The Barrymores have left Baskerville where they found him. A sad occasion, Mrs. Barrymore, and an unhappy vigil for you. And he clasps her shoulder. He was our hope, Doctor. Hope for the country hereabouts. He brought the world to us. He was our hope, she says. I have no idea what any of that means.
Yeah, is that the woman who does like the toddler pouty mouth when she, like the pouty lip when she's trying not to cry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's her. She makes no sense.
Yeah.
Mortimer strides over to the body, which is still lying on the front steps of the summer house, like his head is wedged in like a step. So they haven't moved him. And the summer house is on a little alleyway behind the iron gate. Before Sir Charles ran up the alley, he had evidently stood at the gate for at least 10 minutes, he's telling Holmes and Watson. How do you know that? Holmes demands. The ash had dropped twice from his cigar, and there were also 3 spent matches, Mortimer says. Trying to impress me, Dr. Mortimer. Was there anything else? Yes. Footprints, a man's or a woman's, Holmes asks. Mr. Holmes, Mortimer says, they were the
footprints of a gigantic
hound, which
I love that line.
Yes, and it was actually co-opted completely into the BBC Sherlock. Russell Tovey is the one who says they were the footprints of a gigantic hound. Several people have seen a creature upon the moor, a huge creature, ghastly and spectral. I've cross-examined 2 of them, hard-headed countrymen both, and their stories tally. I want you to advise me what I should do with Sir Henry Baskerville. Henry Baskerville has spent his life in America. He has come over on the SS Gibraltar. And we see Sir Henry disembarking from the ship, talking with the captain, exchanging pleasantries, saying things like, oh, I'm not used to being called Sir Henry, and I was not aware that you could inherit a knighthood. Shouldn't it be Lord? I mean, this is weird. Even from an English point of view, this is weird. And Sir Henry has an American accent. Was there any other claim upon Sir Charles's estate? Holmes asks. None. His younger brother, Roger, died in Central America of yellow fever some 30 years ago. Sir Henry is the last of the Baskervilles. And we see Sir Henry getting into a cab, and he's going off to a hotel in London. He's being followed by a man with a dark beard.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Barrymore? It kind of looks like Barrymore.
It is not Barrymore.
Okay, good. The mystery deepens. Why did you not consult me immediately? Holmes asks sternly. There is a realm in which the most accomplished detective is helpless, sir, Mortimer says.
Okay, why are you here?
Right. There are certain things here which are impossible to reconcile to the settled order of nature. And Holmes rubs his hands together disapprovingly. If you believe this to be supernatural, you'll find more help from a priest. But then Holmes kind of recovers. He shakes his head and he says, how can I assist? And then we're at Sir Henry's hotel. Sir Henry's having a fit about his boots.
Yes, when Americans travel abroad.
When he puts them outside his door to be cleaned, one of them gets filched. So 2 nights in a row, one brown boot, one black boot. And as Mortimer is talking with Sir Henry, trying to calm him down, Holmes and Watson enter the room. I'm sorry, Mortimer. I'm sorry to trouble you with this nonsense, but this is a first-class hotel, damn it. And Sir Henry turns around and sees Holmes and Watson. Oh, hello. Mr. Sherlock Holmes at your service. I think it is worth troubling about, as a matter of fact. You do? Why? Sir Henry asks. Because it's inexplicable, says Holmes. Good, that's good, Sir Henry says, and Holmes twitches a little smile.
Yeah, like,
This is why you've got me.
yeah, it's very, the whole good, that's good is very condescending.
Yes, it is. So later that night, Watson comes back to 221B. It's filled with smoke, and Watson is coughing. Holmes is sitting by the closed window, smoking his long pipe. Have you got a cold, Watson? He asks, disinterestedly. It's this poisonous atmosphere, Watson says. This is a bit thick, I suppose, Holmes says. Thick, it's intolerable. Watson walks to one of the windows and begins opening it.
Yeah, it's foggy outside, and apparently that's still better than what's in the sitting room.
Yes, yeah. You've been at your club all day, Holmes observes. How do you know that? Where do you think I've been? Holmes asks.
In here, smoking.
Quite clearly, Watson says. I've been in Devonshire, Holmes says. In spirit. Quite so. I sent out for a map from Stanford's. Not Stamford, who is the friend who introduces them, but Stanford's is an old bookshop in London that was founded in 1853 and is still going. And it is now on my list of things to do when I go back there. I did not know about it before this show. So Holmes has a map pinned to a bulletin board on an easel with several gold push pins stuck in it at various points. Watson walks over to it as Holmes points out what he's marked off. Baskerville Hall, Grimpen, just a clutter of cottages, moorland houses, farmhouses, Laughter Hall, Mirrapit House, and that is all. Oh, this represents marshland, and these barrows, some prehistoric settlement or burial ground. A tin.
Yeah, there's an old PC game called Barrow Hill.
Oh.
An ancient large stone goes around killing people. You get to see it happen on CCTV at one point, and it is as unintentionally hilarious as you would expect it to be.
Oh my God. Okay. There's also a great movie with Ray Fiennes. God, I forget what it's called. I think it's just called The Dig. About Sutton Hoo, which is a prehistoric site where the Ray Fiennes character plays the amateur guy who digs up a Viking ship in complete Viking ship. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Holmes goes on. All the rest is waste as far as the great convict, the prison of Princetown. It is a worthy setting if the devil did decide to dabble in the affairs of man. Princetown is a real prison in Dartmoor. It's still in operation and owned by the Duchy of Cornwall, which is now Prince William. It's temporarily closed right now because of radon, but the intention is to reopen it. Over the years, prisoners have attempted escapes onto the moor. It used to hold American prisoners of the War of 1812.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's that old. There was a massacre there when the guards thought that the American prisoners were trying to escape. They were not. But yeah, the massacre of Princetown is a thing.
Wow.
So yes, this prison is storied even back in 1901. Then you yourself are inclined towards a supernatural explanation, Watson asks. And surprisingly, Holmes does not deny this. You better send word to Dr. Mortimer. We breakfast with him tomorrow. So they're at breakfast at the hotel where Sir Henry's staying. Sir Henry has joined them. He hands Holmes a letter. It arrived by post this morning, he says. So you think of little puzzles, Mr. Holmes. This one wants more thinking than I'm able to give it. Posted yesterday, Holmes asks. Yes, a joke, as like as not.
I mean, there's probably fingerprints on it, but sure, everybody go ahead and handle it.
Right. They're passing this note around the table the whole time.
Yeah, let's all get our fingerprints on this.
Tell me, Sir Henry, has anything interesting happened to you since you've been in London? No, I don't think so, Sir Henry tells him. What about the boots? Have you been followed? Holmes asks. What? I seem to have walked right into a dime novel. Why should anyone follow me? Watson's holding the note that Sir Henry received. It's letters cut out from a newspaper, glued to a folded sheet of paper. As you value your life or your reason, keep away from the moor, it says. And the the word moor is written out.
I'm sure you could have found the letters to spell that in the newspaper as long as you were cutting things out anyway.
That letter was delivered to the hotel, Holmes says. You are being followed, Sir Henry. The issue, I suggest, is whether it constitutes a friendly or an unfriendly warning. That is surely impossible to determine, Mortimer says. There are features which may help. The envelope, for example. If somewhat crumpled, it is presentable. Its contents mostly are not. The letter has been torn neatly enough along the fold, and the leader article in the Times, the leaded bourgeois print is unmistakable, has been chosen from which to cut the message. And that's why they had to write out the word more, because all the other words were in that article.
Yeah, but you could find the individual letters and cut
You
those.
surely could, yes. But I guess they ran out of, what's that, the glue stick. But the message is awkwardly cut with inappropriate short-bladed scissors, and the gluing of the print to the paper is smudged and misaligned. Holmes takes back the note from Watson for another examination.
And I think the small short-bladed scissors, we talked about this in a different episode, suggest that it's a woman.
Manicured scissors, yes.
Yeah. And like an upper to middle class woman, middle class to upper woman.
Only half a sheet of paper, and yet the watermark is clear. Hudson Whale. You will find that paper in 100 middle grade hotels, but not from here. A first class hotel would have a paper of greater weight. The ink is institutional. That also suggests a hotel.
The ink is institutional.
I know. I've got to use that somehow. What can we determine from this? Mortimer asks. Holmes holds up his mini magnifying glass to the seal of the envelope. Pocket fluff. I infer that the person who wrote this message is staying at a nearby hotel. He's neat of habit and studied the task methodically, but then he began to fear discovery. He rushed it through and then put the result in his pocket until such time as he posted it. It is true that fearful people threaten, but my interpretation is that this is a friendly warning because it seems a risk was incurred in its execution.
Also, when you've deduced that short-bladed scissors were used.
Right. Why are you using the pronoun he? Bravo, Mr. Holmes. You fulfill your reputation, sir. No mistake. But if you're right and this fellow's afraid, then he's not afraid not only for his own skin, but for what might happen to me. Quite so, quite so. Dr. Mortimer, I think it's time for you to explain. And Mortimer relates the legend of the Hound to Sir Henry, and the camera pans across the hotel dining room and settles briefly on the bearded man who had been following Sir Henry from the dock where the Gibraltar landed, who is not Barrymore.
He's wearing this, it's not a top hat like Holmes and Watson tend to wear. It's a very short.
It's like a derby.
It's not quite a derby. I have the note. I'll have what the Hasidic Jew in the corner is having.
I had the same reaction. I didn't write it down, but yeah. No, it's kind of like, it's not even a bowler hat. It's
the kind of hat that Hasidic Jews wear.
Yes. But he's missing the payas, the curl.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So back at Holmes's table, he's stubbing out his cigarette. Well, now you know the facts, Sir Henry. The question is whether or not you should go to Dartmoor. There's no devil in hell, nor no man on this earth that's going to prevent me from going to the home of my own people.
I love that line too.
Yes. Then we'll see how we can mitigate the danger, Holmes says. You really think there's danger? Sir Henry asks. I think that if there is, it is considerable, Holmes says. You certainly cannot go alone. Dr. Mortimer returns with me, Sir Henry says. He has his practice and he lives many miles distant, Holmes points out. You'll come yourself. I have to stay in London. Blackmail case. I recommend my friend Watson.
And Watson's face is, oh, funny. I don't recall agreeing to this.
Yeah, we never talked about this. Well, just as we never talked about your garden, but anyway. That's very kind of you, Doctor, Sir Henry says, even though Watson has not yet agreed. The men stand up and shake hands, and Holmes is putting on his top hat. He notices the bearded man. The man,
There's a Hasidic Jew in the restaurant.
the man notices Holmes, noticing him, and he gets up and he begins to run away. Holmes calls for Watson and starts pursuing the man through the doors of the corridors of the hotel, down a dizzying staircase, and out the back door, just in time to see the bearded man's carriage pulling away.
Very, very slowly.
Extremely.
You never catch it.
They honestly, they could jump on the thing and haul that guy out.
Yep.
In the cab, back to 221B, Watson asks who the man was. I have no idea, Holmes says. Well, how did you know someone had been following Baskerville? How else did they know so immediately where he was staying? At least they'll not continue to follow him now, Holmes says.
Somebody delivered a threatening note to him.
Right.
Are they just delivering this to everybody in the hopes that it'll be relevant for one person?
So, getting out of the cab at 221B, he says, when the crisis comes, Watson, and it will, report to me. And they go inside. As they're taking off their coats and hats and stuff, Holmes asks, do you know what the residue of Sir Charles's estate was? Meaning what was left of the fortune after the debts and bequests had been made. No, I don't, Watson says. Close on £1 million, Holmes says.
So that is 157,073,539 pounds today.
Watson whistles at this for a good reason. I would too. A stake on which a man might play a dangerous game. Such a sum has a definite materiality, and yet of all things in heaven and earth, we are men of science, Holmes, Watson reproves. And yet, Holmes says, it's an ugly, dangerous business, Watson. Believe me, I should be very glad to have you back safe and sound in Baker Street once more. So, yeah, Holmes is a bit emotional, uncharacteristically.
Yes. I'm sending you off into danger, Watson. Good luck.
Please come back safe.
I'll be here in Baker Street if you need it.
So in the train, Watson, Mortimer, and Sir Henry are all sharing a compartment. Watson reaches for his pocket watch, and he finds that a note has been tucked into his pocket. My dear Watson, I will not bias your mind by suggesting theories or suspicions. Simply report the facts to me in the fullest possible manner. Concentrate your attention upon the following. And then the train continues its journey as Watson continues to read in silence. And then Holmes closes the letter by saying, above all, avoid the moor, where, as the old parchment quaintly put it, the powers of evil are exalted.
Why are we not allowed to know what
I
wants Watson to concentrate? Like Watson, after reading it, still has no idea what's really going on, and he read the whole letter. Why is this being kept from us?
I feel like this is like Scooby-Doo type shit.
Yeah, yes.
Like, when Velma puts her mouth up to, down, here's what we're going to do. There's a couple other instances of this as well. The train keeps going into the countryside. It's a small one, an engine and 2 cars. It pulls into Grimpen in a cloud of steam, and the gentlemen disembark and are greeted by the station master.
And it's a nice, cheerful day.
There are also some men in uniform with guns.
Yes.
Which would have been quite unusual back then. They're watching as the trap containing the men go past them on the way to Baskerville Hall. And Mortimer asks the driver, what is this, Perkins? Convict. Escaped from Princetown, sir, about 3 days now. They've been watching all over. Ain't seen no sign of him. Farmers don't like it. Who is he? Sir Henry asks. Selden, the Notting Hill murderer. Folks are locking their doors, I can tell you, the driver says. What did the man do? Sir Henry asks Watson. He murdered a whole family with such savagery. They deemed him insane, Watson tells him.
Did he murder his own parents or murder somebody else?
Yeah, I don't know. He's purely fictional. I don't think there was a Notting Hill murderer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's based on somebody, but yeah.
Yeah, I have not gone farther ahead. We don't meet Selden in this part of the story, and I haven't gone farther
Yeah, me either.
than that right now.
Yeah.
I think I had it in my head that he had killed his parents, but that could have been like when I thought Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles ended with Tess hanging herself in a barn and her husband comes home to repent and apologize, but oh no, it's too late, and it's really wacky if you think that that's how it ends. Maybe I just made this up too.
So the uniformed men with guns are police and prison guards. And we see a final glimpse of one of them before the trap turns up the lane to Baskerville Hall. Just as in the opening scene, it's incredibly foggy. Torches are lit. Ominous music begins to play as the trap pulls up to the door and Barrymore and his missus greet Sir Henry. If I can be of service, do not hesitate to send for me day or night, Mortimer tells Sir Henry. and
Bye.
Bye. Yes. Barrymore fetches Watson's and Sir Henry's luggage and escorts those two men inside.
Yeah, wouldn't you expect the entire house to be out to greet the new master instead of just
the
housekeeper? Because
I wonder if this is so far along in the age of death duties that maybe people can't afford anything more than this, with maids coming in during the day or hired for the occasion.
You've got 2 servants for that huge house.
Yeah, it's a lot of cleaning. But if maids come in every day and they're not living there and they don't have to feed them,
no, that's true.
That is a cost saving. Yeah. So Baskerville Hall is quite the place. Dark, with wooden doors and red carpeting. 500 years of us, Sir Henry says, just as I imagined it. Too much as I imagined it. The place needs the products of Messrs. Swan and Edison, meaning electrical.
Yeah, he's referring to Edison and Swan Electric Company, who manufactured light bulbs.
Yep. Sir Henry approaches a portrait hanging on a wall, Sir Hugo, presumably. Other portraits hang near, and some fine art picturing a Madonna and child. And Sir Henry seems a little awed by it all. In the dining room, after dinner, Barrymore is pouring the port, and Sir Henry is complimenting Mrs. Barrymore's cooking. As they start to go to the library, Watson turns back and kind of stares at Barrymore emptying the ashtrays. And Barrymore kind of stares back. It's a weird interaction. It's obviously full of meaning, but we don't know what that meaning is.
Yeah, how dare you empty the ashtrays?
It's strange. It's just strange.
Yeah.
Outside, it's pouring rain. Watson and Sir Henry are standing by the fire under Hugo's portrait when Barrymore comes over to them. Barrymore is played by an actor named Ronald Pickup, which is a great name. And I kept staring at his face in these scenes, trying to remember where I'd seen him before. IMDb tells me that he played the Archbishop of Canterbury in The Crown, which I've obsessively watched 16 million times. He was also Neville Chamberlain in The Darkest Hour, which is the movie where Gary Oldman played Churchill and won the Oscar. And he was in an episode of Inspector Morse. So there you go.
I did see that.
What is it? Sir Henry asks Barrymore. Sir, my wife and I will be happy to stay with you until you've settled in and made your arrangements, Barrymore says. But your family's been with us for generations, Sir Henry protests. I'm sorry to start my life here breaking an old family connection.
You were born into indentured servitude, Barrymore. You can't just leave.
How dare you? Yes. Thank you, sir, Barrymore says. My wife and I were much attached to Sir Charles and his death. We feel that nothing can be, we feel we shall never be easy here at the Hall, sir. And Watson's watching this exchange. What do you mean to do? Sir Henry asks. Sir Charles's generosity has given us the means to set up in business in a small way, sir.
This place is too spooky for us. We're going to create business.
Right. Well, thank you for telling me, Sir Henry says. Might I look forward to you pulling me a pint in your own house one day? That is the sort of thing. Yes, thank you, sir, Barrymore says. Mind you call it Baskerville Arms, Sir Henry says. So in a way, he's kind of giving the Barrymores his blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And Barrymore thanks him and leaves. That man is frightened, Sir Henry says to Watson. And then they move on to shooting pool. The thunder and the rain continues outside. Watson tells Sir Henry, I shall walk over to the post office in Grimpen in the morning. I'm sorry, but Holmes asked me not to let you leave the house. Doctor, this should take care of any dog that I may meet in your absence. And Sir Henry pulls out another example of the tiniest gun in all of England.
I have a cigarette lighter that looks like a gun. I'll be safe.
This show is so full of teeny tiny guns. Even armed, Watson insists. All right, tomorrow morning you shall find me at home. I'm safe at home, aren't I? That's what Holmes believes, Watson says. In the dining room, Mrs. Barrymore's cleaning up dinner. The men have apparently destroyed a turkey, it looks like. She is exchanging meaningful looks with her husband, who's folding up the linens. We don't know what this means. It's just these looks between people. And the camera's lingering on them. So upstairs, Watson is in his dressing gown, spooking himself with memories of both Holmes and Mortimer issuing warnings about how dangerous the moor is. He's checking.
Yeah, we see these in little bits of like we're like, yes, it's very 80s.
It is.
This happened like 10 minutes ago. We haven't forgotten it.
It's yes. It's not as bad as Holmes's hallucination. Was the other Dartmoor
running through colors,
right? Watson checks his pistol, which is obviously large, and looks out the window. He's rereading Holmes's note, telling him to avoid the moor. And my note was like, he's going to have bad dreams. And downstairs, behind a closed door, a woman is sobbing. And I took this to be Mrs. Barrymore.
I think sobbing woman is just a ghost who lives there.
Oh, okay. Fair.
There's just always a sobbing woman every night. It's fine, you know, between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m.
Yeah. I've never had a ghost. I wouldn't know. The next morning, Watson is in the post office dropping off a letter to Holmes, I guess of his observations. After he leaves, the postmistress takes the letter and puts it in a box, not of outgoing mail. Watson is accosted by a man outside who's carrying a net, who introduces himself as Stapleton of Merripit House.
It is a giant mustache with a man attached to it.
Yes. So he's played by James Faulkner, and I did not recognize him at first.
He was in Game of Thrones.
When I saw James Faulkner, he was old and bald and also burning to death. He played Randall Tarley, father of Sam Tarley in Game of Thrones, and he had that burning coming to him because he was horrible. Here, he's playing, oh my God, like a creepy, jovial sort of man.
Yeah.
Watson shakes his hand and they begin walking. We were concerned, Franklin, Mortimer, and I, Stapleton is saying as they walk, lest Sir Henry should not have come. You know the legend of the fiend Hound. We thought it might seize his imagination, just as it seized poor Sir Charles's. And then he asks, how is Mr. Sherlock Holmes? Watson turns around in surprise. Dr. Watson, you are here. It follows that Mr. Holmes is interested. I'm afraid I cannot answer that question, Watson says.
I have friends besides Holmes. Maybe I'm here with Sir Henry. We struck up a conversation a while ago and became friends, and he invited me.
Well, may I ask, is he going to honor us with a visit himself? And this is the kind of thing that makes me feel sorry for people who are friends of celebrities. Yeah. I've worked with a couple of people who are friends with big celebrities, and oh God, it's so embarrassing when people like do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
He cannot leave town. Other cases have engaged his attention. I assure you, I am simply here to visit my friend Sir Henry. I do not need help. I apologize for the intrusion, Stapleton says. A moderate walk along this path brings us to Merripit House. I wonder if perhaps you would spare me an hour, Dr. Watson, that I may have the pleasure of introducing you to my sister. Which, weird. But Watson agrees, because when has he not wanted to meet a woman?
Yes. Watson's like, well, I'm supposed to be looking after Sir Henry and keeping him safe. And People are waiting for me back at Baskerville Hall. Oh, fuck it. Let's go to your place.
There's a girl there. So as Watson and Stapleton continue walking, Stapleton's net is explained. He's an entomologist living near the moor to gather specimens of insects. But he says, I delight in it for its own sake. It is so vast, so barren, so mysterious. Well, there, for instance, what do you make of that? And he's pointing at open terrain with a gulch running along it. It would be a rare place for a gallop, Watson says, laughing. That is the great Grimpen Mire, Stapleton says. False step there means death to man or beast. Only yesterday I saw one of the moor ponies wander into it. Never came out. I could see his head for quite some time straining out of the bog hole, but it sucked him down at last.
And he's relating this just very calmly, no emotion, like, which would be horrifying to witness.
Absolutely. You know, and my impression, I was like, okay, obviously you cannot save the pony. The pony's too big, you're too small.
Yeah.
But
it would be upsetting to watch. And he's
dramatic.
Yeah.
Jeez. Even in the dry season, it's a danger to cross it, but after these recent rains, it is an awful place. And yet, I can find my way to the very heart of it and return alive.
So, how does he get across the moor without a misstep? Like, did he find a map somebody made, or like
snowshoes?
Maybe.
Whoops.
We'll keep an eye out for them when we get to Meredith House.
But why should you wish to visit such a horrible place? Watson asks. You see the low hills there beyond it, and we see some rock formations that are really kind of cool looking. They're really islands. The flora there is undisturbed, which means, of course, that rare species can breed there. And one of them, a subspecies of Lycaenidae, is unique to the place. In fact, he says modestly, I'm credited with its discovery.
And Watson says, really?
Really?
And the camera just pauses on him while he says nothing else. Watson clearly doesn't care.
Lycaenidae is a species of butterfly. So, you know, this guy is a young, what's his name? Sorry?
Lepidopterist?
Lepidopterist, yes.
Yeah. He likes capturing butterflies, killing them, and making pretty displays of their bodies. Perfectly normal hobby. Shouldn't read anything into it.
And then there's a loud howling. The moor is full of noises, Stapleton says. But what was it? Watson asks. The peasants say it is the hound of the Baskervilles, calling for its prey, Stapleton says. And I say, a hound that bays like that isn't going to catch much prey because of all the racket. It's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Surely you don't believe that, Watson says. Did you ever hear the boom of a bittern? Stapleton asks. The bird is said now to be confined to certain Norfolk fens. But why not here? I mean, are you a biologist or aren't you?
Yeah, like it's totally not a hound. It's probably a bird that
that lives somewhere else, but could be up here. I mean, Norfolk is anyway. I've heard its cry described as being something between a foghorn and a soul in torment. What do you think? And then Stapleton goes running away after a bug with his net. Back at the post office, the postmistress gives Watson's letters to an unknown figure who is wearing black gloves. At Merripit House, a beautiful young woman is yelling and running down the front walk. Go back! Go straight to London instantly, she says to Watson, who's looking around with his binoculars. For God's sake, do what I ask. Go back and never set foot on the moor again. And Watson starts to protest. And she says, shh, my brother is coming. Miss Stapleton, Watson says. Get away from this place at all costs, she says. And then her expression suddenly changes and becomes friendly. Do you see that orchid? Watson pretends to see the orchid. It's a pity you came so late. The orchids are nearly over, she says. And Stapleton comes up the field towards them. You've introduced yourselves, I see. Yes, I was telling Sir Henry it's a pity he missed the beauties of the moor, Miss Stapleton says. Were I Sir Henry, Miss Stapleton, I'm sure I would not miss your beauty. But I am not. I am merely his friend, Dr. John Watson, at your service. And he's kind of stuttering a little bit in the face of a beautiful woman.
Uh-huh.
It is his way. As the three of them are talking, we see someone is watching them. A black-gloved hand is on top of a rock formation.
I wonder who that could be.
Geez, who do we know that wears black leather gloves on a regular basis?
Who might be interested in making sure Watson is safe there.
Yes. So Stapleton runs back down the hill after his butterfly, and Miss
Yeah, Watson's like, oh, I think your butterfly's over there. I need to talk to your sister for a
Yeah,
little bit.
right. Miss Stapleton says, "You must forgive and forget my foolish outburst, Dr. Watson." "I cannot forget," he says. "You must. Sir Henry is my friend." I mean, Watson's really tripling down on this.
Mhm.
"His welfare is a very close concern of mine. Tell me why you are so eager that he should return to London." "You know the story of the Hound," she says. "I do
Your
not
words sound very much like this odd note that we received.
I do not believe such nonsense," Watson says. "But I do. If you have any influence with Sir Henry, take him away. I fear that unless you can give me more definite information than this, it would be impossible to get him to move." "I cannot say anything definite," she says, helpfully, "because I do not know anything definite. I would ask you one more question. If you meant no more than this when you first spoke to me, why were you eager that your brother should not overhear what you said? There is nothing to which he or anyone else could object," Watson says. Good point. "My brother is very anxious to have the hall inhabited," she tells him. "He thinks it's for the good of the poor folk upon the moor. He would be very angry if he knew I had said anything which might induce Sir Henry to go away." And she turns around and hurries back into the house.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a shadow or something, but it looks like the makeup on her right cheek is hiding a bruise.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Wow.
It was really distracting. I feel like it's probably a shadow, but
Look, knowing Randall Tarley, that would not be surprising. A more abusive.
set him on fire.
Yes. So Watson watches her, and then Stapleton comes back and offers to show Watson his collection, which is enormous and impressive.
And really upsetting.
Yes. Butterflies, insects of all kinds, everything with a pin through it. The camera pans over them, and then we see Watson seated at a desk in his room at Baskerville, writing a letter to Holmes.
Yeah, I do want to say, Stapleton's hobby isn't really as unusual as we're making it out to be. This is the age of the gentleman scientist.
Yep.
It was among upper class and upper middle class men. Taking on scientific endeavors was sort of an accepted hobby.
It was encouraged, in fact.
Yeah.
Nabokov was another lepidopterist,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a ton of butterflies. Yeah. On pins.
Yeah.
My grandfather was similar, but thankfully he limited his exploration to rocks. So
He had rocks on display on pins.
no, but we got these big shadow boxes with
Oh, cool.
carefully typed labels of here's amethyst, here's
Oh, wow.
Apache tears, here's agate. He would tumble some of them in his rock tumbler. I have a huge bowl full of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is, and it wasn't animals.
Yes.
So Watson is rhapsodizing about Stapleton's cataloging prowess, a magnificent collection, the work of a serious scientist. "I must also report that the new brown boot has turned up. Barrymore found it among Sir Henry's luggage when he unpacked. Miss Stapleton is very handsome, and on Tuesday we are to dine here at Baskerville Hall with all our neighbors. So Sir Henry, who chafes a little at the restrictions you have imposed upon him, will have a chance to judge her beauty for himself."
Huh.
Jesus, Watson. Give
Uh,
it a fucking break. Back at 221B, Holmes is looking intently into his mirror as Watson's voiceover is narrating this letter.
yeah, it's why are we seeing Holmes on Baker Street. That seems like a weird.
Exactly. Yes. That shot should not have happened.
Yeah.
We're also to meet Dr. Mortimer's wife and the old vicar of Grimpen, who is very shy, they say, and Mr. Frankland, an amateur astronomer of some note who has a reputation of being litigious to a fault. So
He's
we have
a very tiresome character.
Yes, oh my God. We have our dramatis personae for the next scene. Everyone files into the dining room at Baskerville. Frankland is going on about having established a right of way through someone's property. He's laughing. There are parts in the UK where people have what's called the right to roam without using established pathways. You can go across like some farmland or other wide open spaces. And I think this is what Franklin is talking about. Case decided today, Franklin says triumphantly. Today, Mr. Franklin, Mortimer says. I see that in Fernworthy you had the woods there closed to the villagers. Also today. So, hypocrisy. And Franklin laughs at this. I shall be burnt in effigy tonight in Fernworthy, but I have the case against them. Infernal people seem to think there are no rights of property, which he had just argued against. They can swarm where they like with their picnic papers and bottles. So I'm like, okay, this is an asshole.
Yeah. He's like a professional asshole.
Yes. But he says, why should they complain? No one goes to the wood now. They have to cross the moor to get it, and no one will cross the moor. And why is that? Sir Henry asks. You've surely heard, Franklin asks. The hound walks abroad upon the moor. The hound of the Baskervilles, Sir Henry. I've heard. Is it a phenomenon you believe in yourself, Mr. Franklin? Ask the vicar, Franklin says. Astronomic and forensic matters are my domain. Demonic matters are his. Is it a hound of hell, vicar, or what? An interesting question, the vicar says. And Mrs. Barrymore is paying attention to all of this conversation as she's ladling out the soup to be served. Whatever it is that's being seen is undoubtedly something.
That's the sort of answer you give when you have not been paying attention.
Right. Our farrier, Thomas Chubb, is not a man given to visions, and he saw something out there. A dog, he said, about the size of a calf. And I do not think local hysteria is an adequate explanation myself. I pray nightly that it removes itself from us, whatever it is, and that we may all sleep the more soundly. Okay. Very neat. Tied up in a bow. Have some God. I believe it is Selden, the murderer, who frightens the folk, Miss Stapleton says. In Grimpen, they believe he is still upon the moor. We are too ready to condescend and attribute superstition to these poor people when they are in fact subject to a natural and sensible fear. Bravo, Miss Stapleton, Franklin says. This hellhound's existence would not survive a court of law, mere hearsay. Bring the thing before the bench in the full blaze of jurisprudence, say I, then I will believe in it. And then we see Sir Henry seeing his guests out. And once again,
there's laughter and chatter in the background. Like, I don't think that this group of people would be getting on that well.
No, they also just don't seem that cheerful.
No.
Once again, a woman is sobbing behind a closed door.
Between 1 and 3 a.m.
And we see Barrymore making sure the guests get into their coaches and traps. And Franklin, of course, comes in on a horse and leaves on a horse. And everybody departs.
And they have those torches. It's like these iron bowls with flames coming out of them. They have them right up against the trees. Like, how are they not starting a forest fire?
Yes, exactly. Because the flames are huge and the wind is shifting them everywhere. Yeah. I mean, the magic of TV is a thing. So that brings us to the end of part 1. Any other observation? I mean, okay, so I'm reading Stephen King and Peter Straub's Black House, which is a pun on Bleak House.
Is that an older book?
I think it was 2001.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've read that one.
Peter Straub is long gone
from
this world. But there is a huge animal in it that is likened to the Hound, which I'm enjoying greatly. It's
Cool.
well timed.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this story. This is my favorite.
I think
It's up there with the Speckled Band.
Oh God.
It's less ludicrous than the Speckled Band. But they have the same kind of gothic atmosphere.
I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and this time period was, I don't necessarily, I mean, yes, high gothic. We had Bram Stoker doing his thing. I mean, Mary Shelley was many, many, many years before.
Yeah.
She's the one who kind of kicked it off. But we also have Oscar Wilde around this time. And he's plenty gothic, if you want to dig into it. So
yeah, a picture of Dorian Gray.
God. So I saw the Sarah Snook version of that on Broadway, where it was a one-woman show. I mean, technically it wasn't, because she was playing most of the characters, including Dorian Gray. But in this production, they had camera people also involved, and then projections, weird projections, and other characters. And it was magnificent. She won a Tony for that.
Wow.
Yeah, so good. So good. So, any other thoughts on this one? I want to see Randall Tarley get it. Again.
Well, you're in luck next
time. I mean, I'm sure he won't be burned by a dragon, but you know, like Chicago, he had it coming. He had it coming.
Yeah, this one is really just set up.
Yes. Oh no, the action happens next week.
Next week, yeah.
I will say the BBC version of this was so disappointing, and a wild criminal misuse of Russell Tovey.
Yeah, no atmosphere. Zero atmosphere in that.
And Franklin was like I mean, yes, he was an asshole, but he was also awful.
Yeah.
And Mortimer, the glowing bunny, like what the
yeah.
I do not think that episode.
Yeah, like why did you even call this that?
Right. Exactly. Yes. There's some good character building.
The Memory Palace. I think we talked
about.
Oh
my God. Yes.
That's embarrassing. That's how bad it is. It is like nobody would do that.
They do make fun of it later, though, in the one that takes place in the 1800s, because they come onto the airplane where he is, and Mycroft is like, okay, you've just shot up 1 billion drugs. And Watson's like, no, it's his mind palace. It's his mind palace. I've seen him do it. And Mycroft is like, you've seen him be on drugs.
Yeah. I suspect that Gatiss and Moffat might have gotten complaints about how stupid that is because they did pay attention to social media.
They did, which is also unfortunate because fan service. Or
and I think that's also why we never found out how Holmes managed to get off that building in the final solution.
No,
because it was the way they were behaving. It was pretty clear that's somebody on social media, because there was like 3 years between.
There was,
the seasons. That somebody had figured it out, and God forbid
any fan would
not be the smartest people in the room. So you know. They pulled a Joss Whedon and screwed over their own story so that they could say, but you didn't think we would do this. Like, we thought you would tell a good story.
So dumb, because the way St. Bart's is set up, and it still is, there is that sort of like shelter there that masks anything that could fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 million things could happen behind that shelter.
Yeah.
And I frankly believe that Darren Brown was part of it. Anyway, any other notes to add?
No, that's it. That's all from us this week. If you've enjoyed the show and haven't subscribed yet, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to support us, you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, tell your friends, and join us next week when we'll be discussing The Hound of the Baskervilles Part 2.
That'll be awesome.
Yes.
All right. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.